All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Charlotte Tours podcast. This is your host, Tor the Magi. And who I have with me is Jake Summerour. My bad.
Yes, sorry.
Had to understand the name. But yes, he's another artist out here, a visual artist. He's been doing a lot of different mediums I've seen, but I think most known for is your pen drawing, pencil drawings.
Yeah,
everything correct?
Definitely the number one thing I'm doing. I trying to mix it up. That's just the thing that it became easy to turn out pretty regularly, which was good for social media. So kind of fell into that a little bit, trying to find my way into paint a little bit more.
Yeah, that's cool. So I'm gonna go and jump right into it. We bring people out here so we can kind of show the artists, other artists out there, another artist who's actually doing their craft the best way that they can, and also give you your own little spotlight and everything. Let's go to get right into it. What is creativity in your point of view? Whenever you're about to go create, what is that? What does that look like?
I mean, so that's the creativity as a whole. I think is the way that I can offer my perspective on things. The creative process, I guess, is a little different. It's become a good little rhythm to get into. I used to. It kind of interesting. I didn't really used to consider myself a creative person. I was a person that could draw, but I didn't really consider that a creative endeavor. As a skill, and because I was really into realism and stuff. So with that, I developed that skill, but the creativity came as I started exploring different medium and different subject matter and different ways to kind of represent those things. And that has been its own little task to try to develop that creativity and alternate way of thinking to develop a perspective that I can offer other people, right? It's so for me that process has become kind of almost a routine in its own, where I'm turning out so much stuff that I'm kind of just taking whatever influence I can, stuff that I like, whether that be animal subject matter. I did a whole series where I just took words and tried to interpret them in different ways to basically stimulate that creative process to get me thinking about stuff in a different way and how I can represent it. And that's where the creative process for me is seeing what's the different angle that I take as to provide a different representation.
I think it's really unique the way that your journey has been. If I'm hearing it right, because I feel like you came into it with a very the emotion was kind of pulled out of your creative process. If I'm being honest, it was just I can just picture here. I can translate this into drawing.
Exactly. I came up in drawing. I think the way a lot of other artists do is I came up doing I really like this. Let me try to draw this comic, this video game character, this thing or that. And once I got really good doing that line art, I was looking for the next step to that. So I started really diving into realism. And regardless, it was always that just rote copying. I wanted it to be as clean of a representation of that thing as possible. So you can almost switch the brain off and just get into becoming a printer, basically. Which is a really cool skill. I'm very glad that I developed it. It really helped to develop that hand to eye and really become my own critic of my art and kind of be able to fine tune it in a way that provide me with the best final product even now. But yeah, that creativity was out of it. That emotion and attachment was all based off anybody could see if I had accomplished my task. Where now I feel that the final representation is a much more personal product. I know what I wanted this to look like, and whether I accomplish that or not, that's where it is. So becoming a little bit more stylized in my art and kind of pursuing some other venues of ways to represent things has led to, I think, a lot more emotional attachment to stuff, like I said.
So you did it really hurt your feelings a lot more when people would criticize your art back then than now in comparison?
That's an interesting question. It's not necessarily that it hurt my feelings more. I knew that I was still working on stuff back in the day, and I could see where the differences were. And so when people pointed those out, it's yeah, I know. It probably hurts more now, because but it's almost easier to brush off. Yeah, okay, you don't get what I was going for. You're not in my head. It's easier to dismiss the criticisms when the realism is wrong. Because yeah, like, oh yeah, I know that it's not right. Like that's fine. But now it's like, oh, if you don't like it, you don't like it. That's fine, I guess. But this is what I was trying to create, and whether you vibe with that, that's your own thing. Like that's taste. We all have taste in art. I'm not gonna pretend like everybody has to like the type of stuff that I'm putting out. But yeah, you're much more connected to the art when I think it comes from a deeper place of creativity. So yeah, it stays a little bit more.
I feel you on that. And I was gonna ask you, like, you've done a lot of different mediums, I feel like, right? And like, so what has like allowed you to like understand like what is the best one for you? Or do you have like a best one, or you just like it's do whichever?
So I grew up doing pencil. That was the thing that I really enjoyed doing. Realism, like that was definitely the thing that I'm best at. And I think I'd probably still say that I'm best with a pencil in hand, good to go. I've always had that desire to kind of explore and be. I never liked having deficiencies within my art, where like I was avoiding stuff because I wasn't good at it. I really like to be multidisciplinary, and I find that exploring different tools, you can kind of pick up different techniques in the way that you have to apply those, whether it's like ink or watercolor, whatever it may be. You kind of develop different techniques with the way that you have to put those together. You can almost cross apply to other things. So I find that like having a multidisciplinary approach to art does strengthen the overall artist. So I've always been a fan of that. The current stuff that I do with ink came out of the first time that I ever really messed with ink on a serious, consistent level was like doing Inktober. I don't know if you heard about Inktober, the kind of Instagram challenge, and that was this was my fourth year doing it. So 4 years ago, I like started playing around with like ink pens for the first time, like fine liners, and really do it seriously. I'd mess with like some stippling and stuff with them beforehand, but really trying to create consistently. And like 4 years ago doing that. And through that, kind of like developed a little bit of a style. It was still very rough in the making, but that became a medium that I knew that I could turn out quickly. And as I kind of set my sights on trying to grow through social media, I understood that having art that you could produce quickly, repetitively, multiple times a week, pretty easily was important. And I couldn't do that with paint. I couldn't do that with pencil because I take too much time, like really fine tuning everything. So developing a style and a medium that I felt I could turn out quickly is where that ink stuff really came from, which is kind of a crazy way to do it. But I think social media does drive so much that it just happened to be the way that this came out. Since then, I'm trying to break out a little bit more as I've had more time on my hands to explore paint and get back into that because I do like that. I do like the color. Digital is a really fun way to play with color and also have that ability to turn out stuff quickly. So I play a little with digital stuff as well. But yeah, I'm just like, I get bored really is the best answer to why I bounce around so much in different media. But it comes from a desire to really not have deficiencies.
I like that. It's like artistic bodybuilding in a certain way.
Yeah. You don't want to like I never wanted my style to be derived from a weakness that I had in certain areas. So I always felt like, and I was very happy with the way that I came up in art, with going realism and then developing a more stylized kind of character-driven approach. Because then you couldn't have people say that like, oh, you can't draw, so you draw. I can draw whatever you need me to draw, but this is the way that I kind of shape these characters. And really put a lot of time that like goes into that behind the scenes to really come up with a design that I like. And so, yeah, that's really very.
So like how long you been doing art?
So I've been doing art consistently. So I consistently as a focus where I wanted to make something of it. Has been probably the last 7 years. It's obviously been like a lifelong endeavor. I drew I started drawing really in elementary school, kind of all through middle school. High school art was really big to me, and then fell off in college as I started kind of pursuing another career and all that. So it was like 4 or 5 years there where I really didn't draw at all. And then finally, as I got into my profession and realized like, oh, I have like a ton of time on my hands and emails and stuff like that, and I'm missing this creativity from my day job. It wasn't offering me that fulfillment that I wanted kind of consistently, and so I just got back into drawing, and with that posting and doing little things, and so like after a year of that, I was like, maybe like I could get into this. Like I'm really enjoying this and wanting to kind of turn out my work and see what I can do. And that's really been the journey for the last 6-7 years, has been rebuilding that.
Yeah, so I was like wondering, like, since you've been doing it for so long, like, what has like helped you like motivated? Like, is it was it like what I'm hearing? I don't know. I'm gonna let you say what you got to say. But if so, it feels like you just knew that you needed to create something, and like you needed to have some type of outlet for that. But tell me.
Yeah, the creative outlet has been the biggest drive for just that impetus to create something. Like I needed, I knew, regardless of like what path life would take me, I knew that I would be drawing in some capacity. Within that came a little bit of curiosity of like, if I could make this a profession, I could do this at a scale, get enough eyes on work and connect and create an art style that people connected with in a way that they would love me to do it for them professionally. And so that curiosity has kind of been the driving force to see if I could make it happen. And that's fortunately has been the path that over the last, I would say, like 3 years that has really been driving like social media stuff. That was the big I guess strategy that I took with, okay, how am I gonna form this, like make this a thing? And understanding that in order to, I think, be successful as an artist, you need to get eyes on artwork. And so that was the way that I chose to do that. Kind of being isolated, just doing this after my day job. That was a way that I could make it happen. Was like, okay, let me post stuff on social, and if I start coming, I start coming. And as they did, I tried to do it more and more, and just got to the point where I couldn't keep up with as much as I wanted to put out, and wanted to put out bigger projects and do all this stuff. So, and that's why, like, once the growth kind of outweighed what I was doing, I was spending more time at my desk at night than I was at my day job during the day. It just became that, like, okay, let me try to take this job and see if I can do it for real. And that's been the last couple months since it was saying I can make that work. Been its own challenge.
It seems like you've been very persistent with your ability to like go through like whatever life throws at you and still like keep your art as a centerpiece in the way that you like live your life and everything. I remember I had heard that you like at some point you did have like an injury in like your like internal injury, and then you still were able to make your art and you still came back and like rebounded and everything. Like, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So that was a really issue that actually like led to it was a big time, like, shut a door, open a window. Like that was a big turning point for me. Is I was drawing pretty consistently. I was doing YouTube pretty consistently and kind of on that like every 2 week schedule. And what happened? Just some health problems. My spleen ruptured. It was a big deal. So I was in the hospital for like 2 times, or close to like a month, getting that all dealt with. And as I came out of it, I just kind of fell out of habit with it. I didn't want to do, I didn't have the energy or the strength to like sit up and draw regularly. And so the YouTube that I was being really consistent with kind of fell off. And my partner recommended that I try TikTok, which has been something I was like toying with for a while, but they were playing around with like, are they gonna cancel it? Or are they not? Like, is it gonna be allowed in the U.S.? It was like around that time. So, but I was like, okay, if I'm not gonna do like these long form videos, like let me try short form content, and that was fine. And I was able to my first couple videos on TikTok were sitting on the couch. I had drawn stuff like on my iPad, just kind of like messing around, see what I could do. And I made some quick TikTok videos, just like going back, hiding some layers and acting like I was actually coloring. The art was already done. I was just like, let me just make this video in the easiest way possible, and threw a couple of clips together, put it to some music, and like that was it. And that was like early. It was like August 2021, I think.
Yeah.
And so that was like, my injury happened in May. So it was a good like 3-month period where I didn't do anything, but I still wanted to get back into it. I was really dreading what would become, like what would end up being, what would come out, right? I didn't want to lose all my progress. I felt like I was really starting to build something. But fortunately, like TikTok really pops off. Like when I started in like August 2021, I kind of had that idea of like, I've been doing Inktober. I think I'd done it before. I was like, okay, Inktober feels like a really good thing for TikTok. Like, okay, it's consistent. You're doing something every day. That'll be something that can get some attention. If I can get like 100 followers or even 1,000 followers by then on TikTok, like, oh my gosh, like what could happen? And then I just had a couple videos like pop off even before then. And I think I had like 50,000, 60,000 people like following by in that like month or 2-month period before October. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I could really make something happen with this. And that became like such a good, it's a little boost that I needed after that lagging behind to like, okay, like let me get back on track. Cause I was missing it. I knew that I was going to get back to it, but it did feel like, oh my gosh, I've lost so much progress. Like with social media, is all about consistency, and to fall off like that really hurt me kind of emotionally. So yeah, it was good to come back. You really like set the stage for a huge amount of growth that I experienced over the last couple of years. Did that in like a huge part of that, and this very almost grateful way that it played out that way. And I probably was, I don't know if I would have joined, if I would have like maybe joined way later, but it would just perfect storm, right time, and it happened to really be beneficial for me on that, which came in great.
Yeah. So like, I think about like artists and everything, and like being getting their art out there. You're talking about for your way of doing that wouldn't be through social media, and like you said, consistency. Things happen. Life is always gonna happen, and like no matter what, even if it's like, okay, I need to get like my art in these different places. We can't always do things because life always happens.
Yeah.
And like you had your motivations for why. Is there anyone in your life that has been like there to like keep you going whenever things get tough?
Yeah, my girlfriend has been really a good over the last couple of years. She was the one that recommended I get onto TikTok after really falling out by the wayside there. And she's an artist as well, so I really value like her opinion. She is one that I am so grateful to have, like kind of behind the scenes to be like, "How is this looking good? What do you think of this idea? Like, do these colors work? Blah blah blah." All that stuff. I'm just like, there's a tremendous amount of self-doubt that artists can have. I think you can start questioning stuff, especially when your focus is social media, right? Like there's a ton of factors behind the scenes that when something isn't working, you don't know if it's the artwork, you don't know if people aren't connecting with it in the way that you want them to, or you don't know maybe this dial wasn't turned right, the caption wasn't right. Like there's just so many dials to turn. So to have that person to kind of help validate and assure me that I'm pursuing a direction that is good. Like that, this is going to work out. You're putting out good work. This is in time. It will come. Just keep at it. So she has been fantastic for that. My family is also incredibly supportive. My whole like mom side of the family very art centric. So to have with that kind of perspective coming from that side of the family, it has been very positive. So yeah, there's a lot of people that keep me going on it. But yeah, probably praise my partner Ace is the biggest one for that.
Good, great. And like, but I'll say this, like I do commend you on your ability to like weave in your art with social media, because I feel like that's where we as artists get to be like to a point where we're able to do more than what we can do on our feet. You know what I'm saying? Like the algorithm helps us. More people can see our art. And that's why we do it in the first place, so other people can see it. And like, also, I mean, there's also the internal aspect of it all. But like, yes, it's like you find that like recipe for what it works for you is awesome. Do you have? I'm going to jump to a different subject. Like, do you have like any influences like artistically, like who would be like?
Oh, a ton. Again, this is one of the beautiful things I think about social media is being able to see all of the all the different work that's out there. Really, when I was just starting, and you still see the influences of his work in mine. 1000 on that, I really like a lot of
This is an ad on Instagram.
yeah, 10 Hun on Instagram, 1000 on YouTube. Is a mural artist based currently in like Michigan somewhere, but really colorful work. I like his work. I like Kitto. What I really admired about them, and something that I am striving for in my work, is and I think a lot of muralists really aim for, is because your artwork is public and because it's seen from a distance so often and maybe out of context, to develop a style that is instantly recognizable as your own is really been a focus of mine. I really strive to do that. Is something that, like, oh, you can see that and feel the influences of my hand in that too. Like, so that's been a huge thing, obviously. But yeah, that continues like through Instagram. Like there's Hatch, there's Moon MXTR Mixter. I'm not sure how you say it on Instagram. That are so incredible. Like I think one of the biggest things for me personally, I'm a very like introverted individual. I'm pretty closed off. I like my quiet time in my studio doing my thing. So to have this window into the outside of like what other artists are doing and how they're creating, and be able to see their shape language, their way they're using colors, the way almost you can feel the way they're applying colors, is something that I study often and look at and try to find ways to incorporate in my own art to really, again, as we were talking about media, with trying out different medium, is not to have deficiencies anywhere. So I've been really working on my coloring and finding artists that I like within that space to really help shape my own work. I think it's been said often, my art is stealing. It is finding those little pieces,
Creative stealing
from all of those artists that you admire, and again, applying your own perspective, putting it in a way that that is your own, that and creating something that has your soul, your energy into it, even if it is influenced by 20, 30, 40 different artists, and it's just really really great. So yeah, I take a ton of influence from other artists, and it's one of the opinions. It's been fun actually this last like Inktober round to get some DMs from people who are trying out my style and say, oh yeah, tried this out. What do you think? And did those kind of DMs. They're really cool to see like this stuff kind of come full circle with the style. And I feel like I really developed and been able to push to then other artists are seeing and feeling the same thing. Like, because art as a whole is a community that does have to cycle around and be continually built.
Yeah, that must be so flattering that you have like an effect on like, and that's probably like that's why I'm saying like social media is such a good thing, because then you don't have to only affect the people that you're close to. It's like worldwide, global type of thing. So you can have an effect on someone somewhere else, so that your art is like more alive. It's bigger than than yourself. And if I'm being honest, like that's pretty cool. That's pretty awesome.
It's a great experience.
Mm-hmm. And interesting. So, all right, I have a question. So you said you went to school too, right?
Yeah. I went to NC State for engineering. So very, very different from art. Art's all self-taught. So is that engineering, like analytical side of the brain, which added your advantage strategy well.
Yeah. So like, have you felt that kind of like come into your art at all? Like,
it's not so much in the art. Where I think it comes into play and is handy is trying to figure out how to make it a successful business. The art, like that's the one thing that like you can see other people doing it and kind of try to piece together how they're like what they're selling, what commissions they're taking, like what they do a bunch of large stuff or tons like smaller pieces. Who knows like how to put that together. So for me, that like analytical side comes from trying to tinker with the business and shape that, making sure that I'm doing enough work and putting my time and energy in the right spaces that make it productive. So that's where I think that engineering kind of analytical side comes in. But for the most part, I really let the art like be that part side. There's the analytical side, I mean, comes into the social media. Like, okay, if I'm getting this many views on this, like, is this where I need to be spending more time and all that? But for the most part, I just let that like create the creative side really drive what I want to make, and try not to follow. I try not to follow in the pit hole of creating just for social media, and that's something that I want to desperately avoid. And I think I've been able to do so successfully so far. Because then the fun just dries up. If I'm just trying to do it for views or clicks or whatever like that, it becomes a little less fun.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of it. Yeah, it is at some point. But yeah, for the most part, I think I'm creating the kind of stuff that to.
Yeah. And like I feel like, so you're seem like you know how to like go into a topic and then like peel the like back the layers and figure out whatever you want to figure out about it so that you can put it into like a process and everything. Like I feel like as artists, one of the things that we have to like keep in mind is like we can't, if we want to go from just making art to making it like a business and like making this more like a lifestyle, we have to have like the ability to be more organized with things and like have a routine and like, no, I make art from this time block to this time block, and then I do life things and like stuff like that, make money, and then, you know, put things on the schedule to make it like all come together and everything.
Yeah.
Like, has that been like a natural thing for you, or?
That is no, that's been not natural at all. It has really been a struggle to try to balance that. I'm still working at it. There's the I've been doing it full time since March. We're in December right now, to date, where we're at in time, but it is it's been a tricky couple months to try to like figure it out and try to figure out how I allocate my time. There, I think, was this kind of misguided notion that early on I was finding success on social media. I was doing stuff, and that I just did that more week on. And that was including like some doing sponsored posts. I was doing like maybe one every 3 months. If I just turned out more, there's more opportunity to come. So it's been, again, as I mentioned, I'm a little introverted, a little quiet, and wanting to try, like finding that I really need to put myself out there if I'm going to make this work. Has been a big switch that's happened in the last couple of months, and really took a more active role in finding work and not letting stuff just come to me as much, which wasn't the case like while I was just doing it as kind of side, because I'm going to take on more work than I could get with, and now I've got a ton of time on my hands, so I'm trying to like actively deal that with stuff. The balance of time and knowing when to like step away from art is also tough for me. I will spend my entire day like up in the office really trying to tinker and make stuff that needs to turn out. Social media is a big driver of that. I wanted to kind of continually produce content. It's a tough balance to strike for sure, and trying to find out like how life balances, how much time do I need to put into the business side versus the art side, what pieces of them I'm making, and how am I marketing those pieces in a way that is going to be the best use of my time and energy, is still something that I'm trying. But it's been good. And like I've gotten a little bit more comfortable, like kind of cold call, reaching out to people. I just did that recently and got my first mural concept put together. And that's been really, really rewarding, is to see that like, okay, let me reach out into the world for once and see if people are interested, and finding that interest was like so fun to see, and really led to a really cool project. So I'm super excited for that. More of that will come like obviously in the future. So it's finding your own steps and ways to navigate the business side of it. Because I don't know, I've had, for me personally, like that is, as much as like the number side of it is easy, the marketing yourself aspect of trying to run an art business is difficult, and it's something.
I feel like a lot of that stuff is like unsaid. Like it's just like some people figure it out and some people don't. And like I don't think there's many people who like blueprintify like the whole process because I feel like it's really hard to. I feel like that's like the individual's job to do that. If I'm being at that point, it's like I can't tell you the way for you to make your life to fill your life with your love. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a really interesting like the journey of building that knowledge, that gateway of knowledge to go through and like understand. Okay, you need to do this in your art. You need to do this in the business. You need to do this like in your life and all that stuff, and like make it all fit together like a nice Rubik's cube. Like this is like everyone's personal like Rubik's cube every single day that they have to work on every single day. Like what is your day whenever you're the perfect day for you? That's what I want to ask you about. What is the perfect day for you?
That's a good question. I'm still figuring it out. My daily routine right now is wake up, put a cup of coffee, answer some emails, get like any kind of correspondence that I need to do, whether it's like it was on my orders, commission stuff, all that. Then I like try to hop over the desk, draw something. I think to shift that into painting something over the next like month or so. But and then like I mean, let's do that for a couple hours. Is zone out? Is do that thing? Probably like in the evening, do a like work on drawing a video together with us, YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and get that ready to go for the next day. That's probably like an ideal day of like, okay, got all the work done that I needed, had some fun painting and doing my thing there. But I think those days are few and far between. It is trying. There's a lot of stuff that comes up, life comes up, and not able to get stuff done as quickly as I need to, whatever that may be. My last week was spent working crazy hours trying to get a mural knocked down, and that was so fun. Like it was such a nice change of pace to do that. I was like working like when the business was closed, so plus I'm like really late nights trying to get that done, and that was like a blast for me to get up off the desk and do stuff. So the variety is also really important. I think if I had a day where I'm doing the same thing over and over again for the course of a week, I'm probably getting a little bored and I'll want to mix things up a bit. So I like to change of pace. I like to do different things. But really, as long as there's a little bit of art in the day, I'm pretty happy and to see something either get close to being done, finish up.
So yeah, like you mentioned murals a lot just today, and like your art user pins, fine points, all that stuff. Like, what has been like as a project or experience? What's been like the most like fulfilling, fun experience project you've done?
So I've been talking about murals a lot because I just got my first mural commission this past month.
Ew.
And
Congratulations!
That was huge. That was a goal that has been set for a long time. I talked about like 10 and Kipto earlier, and like to see those guys and kind of know in the back of my mind for a while that what like murals was going to be a big part of what I wanted to do and build that framework out. And until I quit to go full time, it was kind of off what I was going to be able to do, right? The time commitment to put something like that together would mean like I'm taking vacation days off work to go and try to paint. So that's something that I'm super excited to finally be able to get into, to finally say that like I've done a commissioned mural piece is a huge check in the box. And I'm really excited for the direction like it's going to go in the future. Because I found a great couple down at in the Port Mill area. Go check out Untamed Waters Brewing.
Untamed Waters Brewing.
They
Okay.
helped me a ton to go and let me run wild with the concept.
So that's what the mural is?
That's where the mural is.
Okay.
They let me, they just said, well, something like water, kind of space vibes, and go. They like my style, which I think as kind of, from what I know, is not common in first-time murals, is to find somebody who lets you just go.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very fortunate to connect with them and put a piece together, and I'm super excited for what that's going to bring in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But because that's really, it's so fun to really get to change a space in that. I'm super excited for what that like for the to get involved more with the Charlotte mural scene.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited for what the future of that is going to bring. I feel Charlotte is continuing to grow and wanted to be one of those keystone cities on the East Coast, and a predominant alt art culture is such a big part of really bringing the city to life. They got the people before me, and I really laid the groundwork and stuff. And you see some big names in Charlotte really doing murals. Also, we just had Miss Lane come out and do the thing. So there are so many artists that like in spaces that can be transformed. Like I said, I'd just be a part of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like, what has been like as far as the community out here? Like, what's been like your favorite about this whole place?
About like I'm hometown from Charlotte originally.
Okay.
So grew up here. It is it's just a great. I don't know. To me, it's home. So it's weird to like try to distinguish it because it will always just be that like home spot for me.
Mm.
But I think that the balance that it offers, and now what you're seeing with the growth and culture that's starting to come into it, what the transformations that you're seeing in South End. Obviously, you can walk around Uptown and see all the different art pieces throughout there. It just feels like it's constantly in a state of growth right now, which can be a little scary to days that like have been established here. But I'm excited to be a part of that transformation, having come from the days of like walking around Uptown, like while I was in high school and kind of and it was pretty good. Like I'm going to be real, like, and now I feel like you can walk around and see stuff going. There are a ton of like arts communities through here that are really working to put their mark on the space, and just excited about the possibility to be along with it.
Mm. That's awesome. Like I like to ask everybody that question because like I like to talk about. I'm very aware of how much it's growing and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know like what is everybody like? What's everyone like liking about this whole entire growth period and everything?
Yeah. It's I don't know. To me, it's a possibility. Like I moved back here. I was working. I was working in Florida and took the opportunity during COVID, like when everything went online, to move back. But just I guess my family's still here. My roots are here. This is where I want to be, and to have a spot that is in that growth, I feel is an opportunity, and I just am excited to continue.
And a question about like two more questions before we end off here. Like with your art and everything, like I feel like we all as artists, all as people have like our own like little special abilities that we're really good at, and we know that okay, like we're good at this and this. We can find like an impasse in between, like kind of make them come together as my personal style. Like, what have you noticed about yourself that's been really, really like key in creating your art like the best way it can be?
From like a style perspective, or just like
I guess like like an overall, like more broad.
and like what about me? Did you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Like I feel like we all have like our own like abilities, like as people. Like I'll say in general, like it helps us good at what we do.
I guess I would have to say like kind of that. What we were talking about earlier with coming up through like pencil, that like that discernment, that really being in a position to be hypercritical of like what you're making has led to where I as much as I'm chasing that pure creativity and really letting stuff flow, there is always that little criticism in the back of my head. I think from those days of doing realism where I'm like, that doesn't look quite right, blah, blah, blah. And so it's led to a really sharp style within my stuff. It's all very clean. With what I'm doing with the ink stuff is very like clean, sharp line work and hatching and all of that. And I think that all comes from this desire to feel really put together and polished. And that I think is within me is that desire to really feel like every little thing is at its place and that there's intention behind it. As I've been like developing characters and doing all this kind of stuff, like all those little decisions have really shaped the way that's going. I've got a page of sketches just like playing with different little eye shapes and stuff that I like and what I felt looked good and was the best like representation of what I was trying to accomplish. So there's that really like analytical part of it is that really is pushing the art to be the best version of itself, at least in my eyes. And I think that's probably like the underlying personality trait that I have. That's kind of shaped things this way. And it's finding that balance. But that pursuit of something that I think is perfectly what I'm trying to make in my eyes is the.
Eh. And one more question, like for anybody who's watching, any artists that are watching that want to like learn how to like, you know, just dive more into the craft and like make it as big as like make it grow alongside them to be like the biggest thing that it can be. Like, what do you have any advice to give anybody out there?
Draw all the time. Like, keep creating as much as you can. I think is the biggest thing. The Inktober challenges were huge for me, and you can see the change like year over year, and almost like throughout each month, as little things get tweaked and improved, and that style really develops out of that. So, as difficult as it was for me, and like as difficult as I'm sure it is for other people, to avoid that coveting perfection for those first like couple, like let it run. Just finishing pieces is the biggest thing, because it'll force you to, I guess, take a step back and evaluate. Advice that I give like other illustrators and artists that are trying to like put this stuff out there to like go find work is don't chase like popularity. Create a style that people will come to you. Like work in the style that you want to be working in and want to be known for. That's been really key for me. And I like was talking to somebody the other day and like, oh, I kind of like doing like fan art kind of stuff. It's like that's really good and it'll get clicks. But if it's not with the direction that you want to be in a year, and if you don't want people coming to you asking for commissions of that kind of fan art of characters that like you don't have that control over, then I would switch bases and really be protective of the kind of work that you're creating. So that if you are creating work that you like and is fun for you, you will get more of that brought in, and I think it will be a much more fulfilling venture for you. And so that's been the key for me. Even like as I'm trying to switch to paint, I got a comment the other day. I was like, hey, I really like what you're doing with like all this paint stuff, but give us more ink. Like, and I'm like, I get you, but like it's also fun for me to do a little paint, a little color now and then. So it's you gotta understand like what you put out in the world is what people will expect from you, and if you want people to expect kind of a little something crazy, you might get ink one day, like might get ink the other day, keep putting out whatever. It doesn't have to be like super polished and pretty, but like as long as you're putting out work that it is from you, that's the best advice. Just
Great. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. For the people outside wants to like find you anywhere, anybody wants to commission you, or just people want to look at your art, like where would they be able to find you at?
So you can find me on all socials at jsum_arts, online at jakesummerour.com if you want to commission me or purchase some art, help support, get some prints, get some stickers, all that good stuff. Those are the big ones. So find me there and follow along.
Mm-hmm. All right. And this is the Charlotte Tours podcast. You can find us on currently Spotify, Google Podcasts. We're going to be on Apple very soon. And on YouTube, Instagram, we post all this stuff weekly. If you want to look at the clips and everything, got a lot of gems that we take out of here if you want to look at the whole entire long form version of this. But yes, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. It's like, again, it's your host, Tor the Magi. Thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next one.